all of you to take your notes. If you have a notepad, you're going to take notes on your phone?
I'm going to take mental notes.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty good at it.
I know, but you got Cynthia on your mind and a bunch of other things.
But first-time buyers has always been one of my specialties.
Oh, that's good to hear. Well, I just want to give you some statistics on what's going on with first-time buyers. And I want to also show you how to manage them properly. A lot of folks get really frustrated with first-time buyers. How many of you worked with a first-time buyer before? Can I see your hand? Okay. Was it easy? Anyone?
Yeah.
You said easy. Okay. I find that they're not always easy. I find that they are unrealistic in many ways. They don't understand the market. They don't understand, the process. There is a lot of fear inherent with the buying process. And so a lot of first-time buyers I find are very fearful. And so consequently, they're not as easy to work with. A repeat buyer has gone through the process before, but a first-time buyer, you have to learn how to communicate properly with them, and you have to learn how to manage them. You can't control anybody. One of the first things you want to do is determine whether you want to work with them or not. You don't want to work with every buyer, nor do you want to work with every seller, but today's lesson is on first-time buyers. You don't want to work with them all because not all of them are realistic. Even after you educate them, they may not be motivated enough. How many of you had someone say, hey, I want to buy a house. I want to buy a house in Encino, south of the boulevard. I want it to be 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and I want to pay $375,000 fixer-upper. Anybody ever somebody like that? Mm-hmm. So what do you do with them?
Refer them to somebody else.
Oh, you refer them to somebody else. Okay, I will listen to what their concerns are and say, let's set an appointment. So I want to set the appointment with this prospect. They're not a client of mine yet, they're a prospect. So my first goal is to set the appointment if I think this is going to be a worthwhile endeavor. And I won't know until I set the appointment. So I set the appointment and I try to set aside 45 to 60 minutes. Unless within the first 30 minutes I find out that they're totally unrealistic or that our chemistry is just not gelling and we cannot work together. There'll be people that you find, that will find you, that you'll find after a while that you guys just can't work well together. And it's okay. Not everyone is matched well with each other. So don't take it personal that you can't work well with this person, and learn to let it go. Learn to let them go. In a diplomatic way, you might say something at the end of that 30-minute session. Based on what you're saying and based on where the market is, I really don't think we can work well together. You might be better served to find another realtor or find another real estate agent. And just let them know up front. That way you don't waste your time frustrated doing a lot of research that doesn't end up anywhere good for you or them. Okay? So feel free to do that. So the counseling session is really a session to determine their wants, their desires, and their goals. And you're also trying to determine their time frame, when do they want to do this. And you're trying to determine ultimately whether you want to work with them or not. Most realtors who are new in the business want to work with anybody. Anybody who says they want to buy a property or sell a property, they want to work with them. But I'm telling you, use your time wisely. All right. So we have to set up what is called a counseling process. And I'll tell you about the counseling process. So my initial goal is to do what?
Set the appointment.
My initial goal is to set the appointment. That's what my initial goal is. So I want to set the appointment, get them into an environment in the office. I don't want to set the appointment at their house, their apartment, or a restaurant. I want to get them to come to the office. Why do you think I want to get them to come to the office?
An indicator of their motivation.
Yes, it set aside time. It shows how motivated they are. I'll tell you a story, and it's real quick. Last week I had an appointment for my dental hygienist, and guess what? They didn't come to my house. They did not come to my office. I had to set an appointment 4 months in advance, and guess what? I went through the window of times that they had available. And then I met with them in their office. And so they've set the stage for how they want to work with you. And we realtors need to do the same thing. We need to set the stage as to how we want to work with folks. And many times we don't. They ask you, what time can I meet with you? Oh, anytime. And then you give me any old time as if your time is unlimited and has no value at all. associated with it. So you need to set the stage just like I had to when I was going to meet with my dental hygienist, okay? All right, so there are questions you need to ask. And so it's not a rapid fire set of questions where you're sitting them down and you're like Dick Tracy asking them all these questions, or CSI, CIS, whatever in New York, Miami, CSI, thank you Rodney, CSI. So I'm not interrogating them. This is not where I'm just asking question after question. This is the thoughtful process that I want to have. So initially when I meet with them, I introduce myself to them, offer them water, coffee, tea, whatever, and then we just do a little chit chat and I thank them for meeting with me. So that's what I do. I set the stage for how I want this to work. And then I begin to ask them questions about what are their expectations. Well, so you want to buy a home? Yes, I want to buy a home. Well, when would you like to buy a home? And they'll tell me when they'd like to buy a home. Well, what type of home would you like? And they'll tell me that. And then what I'll do is I'll give them what is called a wish list. How many of you have a copy of the wish list? Can I see your hands? All right, you don't? You don't need one? Okay, fine. All right, so a wish list. I give them a wish list, and the wish list makes it very succinct. It lets me know clearly what their wants are, what their likes are, and what their dislikes are. It also tells me some other information like, well, how did you find out about me? And I'll ask the question like, are you working with another realtor? Think that's an important question to ask? I ask all those questions, right? And I ask them, things like, are you gainfully employed? Do you have a job? Have you run a credit report on yourself recently? I ask them all these basic kind of questions because I want to know what's going on with this particular prospect. They're not even my client yet, they're a prospect. Once you pull this chair, it's much more comfortable around to the front of the...
Which one?
No.
That one there. Thank you. All right, so I do that because I want to get a sense of what their expectations are. And then what I do is I'll ask them a question like, well, how long have you been looking for homes? I want to know. I want to know, have they been looking for a year? Been looking for a couple months, 1 month? I want to know, did they just start looking? And then I'll ask them a question, have you viewed any homes? Because most of the time they look on the internet first. About 80% of them go on the internet looking for homes first. And then they reach out to a realtor based on a specific property that they saw. So I ask them those questions. Then I'll say something like, well, have you written any offers yet? Why do you think I want to know all this stuff? I want to know, what am I getting myself into? Is this a client that's real? Is this a client that, they've been looking for 8 or 9 months and they've written 5 offers and none of them gotten accepted? It makes me pause for a moment. Do I really want to work with this client? Or maybe the agent that worked with them before did not manage them properly. Okay? A lot of agents do not know how to manage their prospects. So then I ask all these bottom line questions, and then I'll ask them a question which gets to the crux of whether they have the ability to buy or not. I'll say, well, are you going to purchase with all cash? Are you going to finance it? I don't ask them how much money they have because some people are very personal. They don't want to tell you how much money they have. I'll say, are you going to purchase with all cash? And then I pause. And then I'll say, or are you going to finance it? Why do I want to know that? There are 20% of the clients out there buying all cash. Maybe mom and dad is going to give them the money and they're a first-time buyer, they're going to pay all cash. And then the rest of them are trying to finance these homes. I want to know right up front. And so if they answer the question, yes, I'm paying all cash, okay, then I'll say something to the effect of, well, we'll need to have proof of funds sufficient enough to close escrow. I'll let them know, we'll need to have proof of funds sufficient enough to close escrow. So, for example, if I find out that they want to buy a home in the $500,000 range, we'll probably need about $520,000 in order for us to close this transaction out. How does that sound to you? Does that sound okay with you? Yeah, that's fine. Okay? I get all this information up front. Now, if I find out that they are not all cash buyers, then I'll say, well, have you been pre-approved? And most of them will say no. And some of them will say, well, I have really good credit. Oh, I know you have great credit. That's not, but I need to know if you've been pre-approved or not. Well, I'll get approved when I find a home. Well, I'll say, look, do you want to be successful in your home purchase process? That's a very good question to ask. If they say yes, I said, well, here's how it works. And I explain to them the process.
Here's the right steps to success.
Right. There you go. I tell them how it works. I said, look, I tell a story. And my stories are always true stories, okay? The story I'll say is that, let's say, Cynthia, you and, what's your, Austin? You and Austin want to purchase a home. You want to purchase a home in Valley Village, and it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, and you know, you want to purchase a home for $555,000.
And here's your seller.
So Cynthia and Austin, I asked those questions of you, right? So I said, Cynthia, let me give you an example. You know, the market, and I talk about the condition of the market. And there's some great things you can use to talk about the condition of the market. If you have a handout, you can use this realtor report. This happens to be the one with my friend Pat Zigarelli, who's the president-elect of the California Association of Realtors. But you'll notice in here, there's statistics. But even better, you can go have it on, you can download this stuff, or you can go online to look at it from your iPad, your tablet, whatever it is you have, your laptop, right? And you can bring out really good information. So I let them know a little bit about what's going on in the market. And I said, let me give you an example, Austin. Let's say you want to buy this house on, give me a street, on Chandler. So you want to buy this house on Chandler. And there are 3 other buyers who want to buy the same house. You, Austin, and Cynthia, you've already been pre-approved. We have your letter of pre-approval. In fact, we have your desk underwriting approval letter. All we have to do is identify a property. And let's say there are 2 other people who want to buy the same house. Who do you think the seller's going to want to negotiate with first? The one, you and Austin, have been pre-approved, or these other buyers who have not been pre-approved yet? Of course. So I want to put you in a position where you're going to be successful. So I explained to them in a non-threatening way why it's important for them to get pre-approved. And this way, there's no fooling around. Well, I'll get pre-approved later, because you and I both know by the time they get pre-approved, in the market that we're in today, that home may not be available, right? And so they're going to be frustrated, and they'll be angry with you because you didn't position them in a way that they could be successful in the home buying process. Okay? All right, so this is what I do when I'm working with a buyer. And I then go into the home buying counseling process. So I explain to them how the market is. I tell them the type of market it is today. What type of market are we in today?
Robust.
We're in a robust market. Is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? It's a seller's market. You're not sure?
It's robust.
Okay, you're saying robust. What does robust mean in your opinion?
That the playing field is equal for both.
You say it's equal for both. What do you say?
I said it's a seller's market.
You say it's a seller's market. What do you say?
He's still seller's market.
Seller's market. What do you say?
Seller's market.
Okay, let's talk about what a seller's market is. A seller's market means that the seller has a slight advantage over a buyer. The seller has a slight advantage over a buyer in the negotiating process. And it's usually dictated by the economy and by the supply of properties on the market. The supply of properties on the market today are probably less than 4 months of inventory. Okay, depending on the price range. But in the price range where most of the activity is going on for first-time buyers, I would say it's probably 500,000 and below in our market. Would you agree? Yes?
What the median
Yes.
price?
No, in our market where most first-time buyers are buying today, probably in the 500,000 and below price range. It's most of the first-time buyers in our market today. Now that's different in different markets. If you're talking about Fresno, it's probably 225,000. If you're talking about San Francisco, it's probably $1.5 million. So it just depends on the market that you're in. In our market, and you need to know your market, in our market it's about $500,000 or lower. That's where the market, most of the activity is going on. So I explained to the buyer, I said, Austin, here's how it's going on now. A normal market is 6 months of inventory of homes on the market. That's a normal market. We have about 3.5 to 4 months of homes on the market, which means there's a shortage of homes on the market, which means that you may have 3 to 4 buyers for every property that comes on the market. So when you have 3 or 4 buyers for every property that comes on the market, what's going to happen is that if they have a good agent, as soon as that property comes on the market, they're going to get out and look at it, aren't they, Deborah? And so I have to explain to Austin and Cynthia, in this case, what the market's all about. And I said, look, in order for us to get you in a position where you can compete for those homes that are coming on the market and get the best opportunity, we need to have you pre-approved. So our second appointment is going to be you bringing back all the information you need to bring for your pre-approval process. And I'll give them a lineup, a list of all the things they need to bring. Tax returns for 2 years, right? Proof of funds. All, if they change jobs, employment letter, something like this, all the different things that they'll need. And then that meeting, I'm going to have them sit with the lender. Okay, but I'm going to give them a list of all the things that they need to have. And I'm going to say, we're going to set the appointment for this date and time. And we're going to only keep that appointment if we have all the material. If you don't have all the material, then we're not going to keep that appointment. Okay? So now I'm setting everything up for them to be successful. All right, so let me move on into some of the things that we need to ask for. So, first-time buyers, just so you'll know what the market is about, it says here, first-time home buyers have been largely absent from the home buying process in our market. Okay, because why do you think the first-time home buyers are less of a role or less of a percentage of our market today? Why do you think that is? Well, I'll tell you. It's because home values are going up. Inventories is lower. Investors have played a major part in buying homes up in the last year or so. So first-time buyers have fewer opportunities, and the ability for first-time buyers to qualify. The affordability factor has been going down. 3 years ago it was really high. It was probably like 60% of all buyers in the market, in our market, could afford to buy a home. That's been reduced down, and I'm going to show you some numbers to substantiate that. I'm also going to go over some examples of types of folks who are concerned about buying a home. They may be first-time buyers. There's a group called the millennials. Those folks are like 30 years and younger. They're millennials, and those folks are having a difficult time finding homes today. Many of them, up to about 40% of the millennials, are living at home with their parents. Do you hear that? They're living at home with their parents. So if you have millennials, is your millennial living at home with you? Okay. He's smiling when he says that too. Okay. A lot of millennials.
That was after 2000?
Pardon?
Millennials was when?
They're about 30 years and younger.
Well,
30 years old and younger.
So just younger than my daughter.
I'm younger.
She's Gen.
Pardon? 30 years old and younger.
Okay.
30, 29, 28, 27.
Yeah, right, younger, no older.
Yeah, right, and younger. All right, so that's who millennials are. They're finding it difficult to buy. So let's talk about some other folks who, first-time buyers. Here's something from Lawrence Yun, who is the chief economist for NER. He's talking a little bit about the percentages and what's holding these first-time buyers back. It's showing here home ownership for adults under the age of 35 peaked in 2005 before the market went crazy, and then fell to 36%, and hey, that should be 2014. That's 2014. That's 2014.
Or sure, so they put those.
All right, so limited job prospects, that's one of the reasons that first-time buyers are finding it more difficult. Student debt. Did you know that student debts today, if you take all the student debts, combined with all the students who have debts in the United States of America, it's higher. It's higher today than consumer credit card debt. So consumer credit card debt used to be much higher, now it's student debt. You just graduated from, getting your master's degree, right? But you're independently wealthy, so you have no student debt, right? But my daughter went to Pepperdine, I'm still helping her pay for that student debt, right? Okay, so student debt is a major factor in what's going on. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on with the markets. I got this from the California Association of Realtors. It said existing homes in May 2014, 391,000 current period. Last year, 393. A year ago, 432. All right, so I want you guys, I'll email this over to you so you can have these graphs too, and you can use it in your own buyer presentation, your home buyer seminar, or your buyer presentation, okay? But it's important to give people information. Give people information and source it, say where you got it from, so that they can see that it's credible, it's not just you making it up, okay?
Was it SAR again? I see,
Board of Realtors, Federal Home
that's
Loan.
AAR,
Where you see that?
very beginning.
At the bottom, it
Says
says
homes.
Federal Home Loan.
Double SAR.
So
Yes,
that's
double AR.
Sources.
I think that's an association of realtors. I'm trying to think if is that not San Diego? I can't remember.
Oh.
Okay.
It's like the median home price difference from the current period to a year ago.
What are you seeing happening?
Prices is, parent is 465.
Mhm.
What was it a year ago?
A year ago,
Last year?
No, that's last period, so last year.
Last year,
a year
417.
ago was 432, wasn't it?
A year ago, it says 417, right here.
Oh, yeah,
Man.
417.
Right, so you see how the prices have escalated? That's almost $50,000, isn't it?
Yeah, that's how much you want.
Yeah, so prices have gone up over 10%, 12%.
There's not an investment out there that you can make that return.
Right? No. So if you talk to a buyer, a lot of buyers are sitting on the fence. First-time buyers are, have you ever had a first-time buyer who had the attitude that, oh, you know, we'll just keep looking. You know, we're going to wait for the market to change. We're going to wait for interest rates to go lower. Anybody ever have buyers sitting on the fence with all those kind of notions that are not realistic in today's market?
Mhm.
Your job is to educate them, and if you educate them during that 45 to 60-minute session with them, they'll be more realistic, and then they'll listen to you when you want to write an offer. How many of you had a buyer you worked with, they're a prospect, they got pre-approved, maybe they're approved for 450, property comes on the market that you can research and you know the market, so one comes on the market for 435, and they want to write an offer for 420. Anybody see that?
Yep.
Yeah, they're not being realistic. So if you've gone through this process with them, explaining to them that we're getting multiple offers on all the listings that we get that are properties in good condition and priced right, then they won't be so, you know, moving forward to reduce the offer price below the list price. And here's one of the things I share with the first-time buyers, and I do with all buyers. I said, look, you're going to get a loan, right? Most of the buyers are going to get a loan. I said, then you're going to get it appraised, because the lenders are not going to make a loan unless the property is appraised. So I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have an appraisal contingency in our offer. And here's what that appraisal contingency does. It protects you, Austin. So let's say, for example, Austin, this house came on the market for 435, and you want to make an offer for 420, but I'm recommending that if you really want a chance to buy this property, you need to make an offer for 440. Well, I don't want to pay over. I said, Austin, look, it's impossible for you to overpay for a home and not know it. Did you hear me? It's impossible for you to overpay for a home and not know it. The appraiser is not going to listen to me, not going to listen to you, not going to listen to the bank. The appraiser is only going to do it based on scientific methods, and they are licensed by the state of California. They're not in cahoots with the banks. And furthermore, the banks don't want to make a loan on a property that's not appraised at the true value, because they don't want to take the risk. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to make an offer based on what we think will be the best chance for us to get this offer accepted. And let's say, for example, the property comes back and it appraises for 440. Guess what? That's what the market is. That's what that property is worth. But what if that property comes back, the appraisal comes back, and it appraises for 430? Guess what? That's what the market is. So you will never overpay and not know it. The appraisal is your protection. So I let them know this. Don't be afraid to make an offer above it, as long as you can afford it. That is the key. You may be able to afford $500,000, but in your mind, monthly payments-wise, if you don't think it'll be comfortable for you, I get that part. But you need to make your offer based on the best chance for you to get your offer accepted. Okay? All right, so that's what I explained to them. So I tell them what's going on with the market. In 2013, here's what was happening with distressed properties. Distressed properties were short sales and foreclosures. That's a distressed property. right? In Los Angeles County, 20%, almost 21% of the properties in 2013 June were distressed sales. They were short sales or bank foreclosures, or some people call them REOs. Here's what's going on in the market now. This is May 2014. Look at what's happened. 11% of the properties in our region are distressed sales. Because how many of you have had a buyer say, I want to buy a foreclosure? I can get a better deal on a foreclosure. Anybody have a buyer who says, I want to buy a foreclosure?
Anybody have a buyer that doesn't say that?
Yeah. It's not normal these days, right? So you say, this is what the market is. Less than 11% of the properties on the market are foreclosures. So I explained this to them. All right?
I say,
Thank
does
you
that
very
mean
much.
you don't want to look at the other 90% that are for sale?
All right. And then I show them what the market is today. Look at this. That's almost 10%, almost 10%, 9.9% of the properties are distressed sales. So I explained to them, this is what's going on in the market. I want to educate them so I'm not wasting their time, nor am I wasting my time. And this is all going on to this 45 to 60 minute counseling session that I'm having with them. And it doesn't matter that I've been in real estate 4 years or 40 years. The information is still the same. And you can be just as confident and convicted in what you say to them as if you've been around for 80 years in this business. The numbers speak for themselves. And you're giving them the numbers, okay? All right, so rising prices chipping away at housing affordability. Why do I want to talk about this? Because a lot of buyers are not that motivated. They don't have a sense of urgency. They think that the market is always going to be the way the market is. They think everything is always going to be good. Right, Rodney?
That's right.
It's our job to teach them that no, the market is dynamic. It is not static. It does not remain the same. So I tell them, year over year, prices increase. Sellers have got more equity. Properties have gone up. Property values have gone up. I explain this to them so that they can see that, hey, I can't just sit around and expect the prices to stay the same. You know, if they bought a house a year ago in our market, they would have made $50,000 already. But by them sitting around waiting, they've lost out on that $50,000. All right, here's what Freddie Mac said. Everybody know Freddie? Freddie's married to Fannie, right? Yeah, they are now because they're part of the Federal Housing Finance Agency. So Freddie Mac is a government agency, quasi-government agency, and what they're saying is rising mortgage rates over the past, 6 months are making it challenging for typical families to purchase a home without stretching beyond their means. So I put a sense of urgency in there. Look, you know, this is what the federal government, this is what Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, they're all saying the same thing. Rising rates is going to make it tougher. So why would you want to wait a year, if you can afford now, to buy a home today for $400,000, right? And next year you're going to have to pay $450,000. Why would you want to wait? Why would you want a higher monthly payment or a bigger down payment? Why would you want to do that if you can afford to buy now? So you see what I'm saying? A lot of buyers are sitting on the fence. Then I talk about the student loans. How many of you had clients with student loans? Anybody? Well, I tell you, we talked earlier about the student loans and what pressure it's putting on the ability to buy. And a lot of students who have good jobs now, they're former students, are thinking, I can't qualify. I have $500 a month in student loans. And so maybe I can't qualify to buy a home now because I got this extra debt. Well, guess what? Maybe they can. Maybe they should get pre-approved for their loan right now to see, right? So this is something that's critical and you need to educate them. And here's something. Federal Reserve talks about how many trillions of dollars, $1 trillion in student loans. But here's something that's kind of interesting. A person, $45,000 in student loan, not uncommon. The typical graduating student now has $30-some thousand
Loans.
in loans. You don't, because you the bank.
Who the bank?
You the bank. $45,000 student loan, but here's something, if they have a good FICO score, they can still buy a home today.
And an income,
Right.
The income.
75,000?
That's a lot.
Okay, but you know, some people are making that kind of money. So you let them know it's not out of the question. This is a report from Redfin, one of the mortgage lenders from Redfin.
So you got it from Redfin?
Yeah. I try to source every place I get information from, okay? All right, student debt loan holds back. Okay, many young people with student loans delay buying home because they don't think they can qualify for a mortgage. Here's something that's really critical, William. I'm sure you already knew this. Underwriters generally treat student debt in a more positive light than credit card or auto loans.
Yeah.
Did you know that? See? They will probably make it easier for the buyer to qualify in the underwriting process if they have $500 of student loan versus $500 in credit cards or $500 in auto loan. Did you know that?
No.
See? So this is important to know, isn't it? Hi there.
Hi.
All right, so these are all important things to do. All right, here's something that we have a crunch on teachers right now. Only in our market, only 17% of the teachers can actually qualify to buy a home now.
That's so sad.
Yeah, it is. So that's the story. But you know, that's just a story. There are some good programs out there that students, teachers can use to help them get better financing. There are some loans that teachers can get under the pension plan. There's a couple of pension plans that teachers have, and they can get loans underwritten by companies that use the pension funds that the teachers are a part of that will give them a lower rate. Okay? So there are things that you can do. You need to just do your research, talk to your lenders, talk to the credit unions, talk to the teachers, pension fund folks, and they'll tell you what's available. And that's the case also with certain labor groups. Some labor groups have plans that are available for their members to get mortgage loans on it at a lower rate. Okay? All right, so we have a lot to cover today, and I'm not going to cover it all today. So this is going to be a continuation. Okay, if you want to know more about how to work with a first-time buyer and how to be successful in managing them, it starts out with the conversation, and the second thing you do is to have what? You set the appointment, right? You got to set the appointment, and when you set the appointment, your goal is to do what? What are you trying to determine in that appointment, that first appointment?
They're approved.
Say it again?
Okay. And that they're getting approved.
Yeah, that's what you say. What did you say?
I said, see if you can work together.
Oh,
Your
that's-
goal is to determine whether you and this prospect can work together or not. You don't have to act like you're begging somebody to work with them. I'd much rather be doing something that I enjoy, hanging out at the beach, you know, playing golf, or doing, you know, going someplace that I really enjoy than working with a buyer that's not realistic. Wouldn't you? What is one of your favorite things to do?
Go to the beach.
Going to the beach. Yeah.
Anything but work. No, I'm just kidding.
I'd much rather be doing some of those kinds of activities than running around with a buyer that's not realistic. So if you've been working with a buyer for 3, 4, 5 months, you need to set another appointment with this buyer and have a real session, a counseling session with them. You need to start asking some serious questions. You need to find out their true level of motivation. If you are working with a buyer and they have not been pre-approved, don't tell me because I'll slap you. Okay?
On the wrist.
Do not tell me, because that is like totally unprofessional for you to be working with a buyer, showing them properties, and you have not gotten them pre-approved. All right? All my buyers, I sit down with them. All right?
That's the first.
At the office, I have them treat me like I'm a professional, just like my dentist, my dental hygienist, my doctor, and the lawyer that I work with, my accountant. Guess what? I have to set an appointment with them. I can't just show up at their door and say, hey, I'm here, take care of me. Right? I have to set the appointment with them. Right? And then what they have to do is sit with me, counsel me, evaluate me, run tests on me to determine, oh, do I want to work with this cancer patient?
Yeah.
Or they're so terminal, they'll mess up my record, I don't want to work with them, right? I mean, it's kind of a morbid thing to say, but I have to determine whether I want to work with them or not. And so you need to do the same thing. You need to start valuing your time. And if you're running around, previewing property, running things comparable, sending things on the internet with a buyer who's not realistic, don't do it anymore. Okay? You can manage your clients properly. And then what you need to do is after you've had 2 or 3 showings, I show no more than 5 properties on any given showing. Never more than 5. Because if you do more than 5, they'll never remember everything that they saw. They'll forget. They'll confuse them with, oh, this one and that one. Never say more than 5 properties at any given showing. Even though they want to look at more, oh, we still have more time. No, I don't. I have another appointment. Right? You let them know your time is valuable. And then after I've gone through the process, I'll say, well, tell me, what about this home did you like? I'll ask them the question. What about this home did you not like? And they'll tell me. And I'll go through each of those properties and ask them those questions. And then I'll narrow down those things that they don't like and try not to show them other properties that have those things that they don't like. Well, I don't like the alley. I don't like being on the busy street. Well, I don't want a cul-de-sac because it's too quiet. I want to be able to get in and out. I want an alley so in case the cops come in the front door, I can go out the back door, right? Whatever the reason happens to be, you have to find out what they are, and then you need to sit down and say, okay, which of these homes do you think you'd like best? I ask the question every time I show properties. I'll say, after I finish the session, I'll say, all right, out of those 5 that we saw, which one did you like best? Which one can you see yourself moving into? How do you think your furniture will look here? I start putting visual, demonstrations or manifestations of what that property will be like with them being in it. Oh, which one would be your room, Johnny? Oh, Jill, which one do you like better? And I let them get engaged into the process of emotionally connecting with the property. I'm not just showing properties for the sake of being a guided tour. I'm showing property because I want to write an offer, get their offer accepted, and close escrow. All right, I'm done with my presentation, but we can take questions. Yes,
Just with the kids. To find if I've got a family in the house, the kids already pick out a room in every single house. So, or not every single house, but if they pick out a room, go back to that house. Oh, Johnny liked the room in this house. What did you think about it?
Mm-hmm. Children can have a big influence on parents.
Very big.
Yeah, they can. All right, any questions?
Oh, one more. Whatever happened to Fanny's sister Sally?
Salome,
Oh, I don't know.
she's
I don't
gone.
know.
You mentioned Freddie and
I don't
Fanny,
know.
but what happened to Sally?
I don't know. Sally may. I don't
She
know.
don't want to speak to everybody before she gets.
Let me ask a question before we get to Gina. But thank you.
Right, side comment.
Any other questions or comments on today's lesson? Any questions or comments?
I didn't get the announcement of today's meeting.
You didn't get the text?
The text.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I think
Thank you for being here. All right. Okay. So we'll figure out how to get you on our
Okay.
communication system. Yes, Gina.
how many of you would like in the future, if it's okay with Mr. Wilson, to do a prelim class and kind of go over a prelim? So when you order a prelim, you know what you're looking at and you know the things to look for that are problem areas. Would everybody be interested in that? Would everybody
It's good.
come?
I think it's good, yes.
How many of you are getting prelims now on different
Right.
properties?
But I,
You do, right?
yeah,
When you get it, do you look at it? Or do
Yes.
you kind of let Esther do it?
no, I like to know, I mean.
Yes, that's very important, just to let you guys know, if you order or see a prelim, even if you're working with a buyer, to look at the prelim, ask the listing agent for the prelim if you're making an offer, and look at the prelim and see if there's anything you have to worry about that could possibly impede the closing.
Yeah.
And I'd love to do a little class.
Okay, we'll
and
schedule
do
that.
So thank you so much, thanks for your support. And
Yes.
the king came.
Oh,
I got both texts. Both texts.
Excellent. Okay, all right, well, we're all done for now. Take care, thanks so much.
All right.
So, Vice Trujillo.
Can I throw this hand at the hand?
Hey, what you doing, fool?
I'm throwing hand at the
Hand
hand.
at the
Ain't no
hand.
hand in here. Except the one you got in your hand.
Throwing.
Gina, what's going on?
Nothing.
you
Simple
good?
stuff, good stuff.
Good stuff?
All good.
You working hard?
Of course, always. You gotta keep
I'm so
going. You
glad you
gotta,
check on me and stuff.
I
My
do. Make
business
sure
depends
you're,
on you. My business depends on you, you know that,
I
right?
know. And back at you.
Two things. One,